Hey everybody. Okay, so we are going to be doing some Chart.js stuff. We're going to be using a React implementation of this library, and basically what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure that we have a project that is just going to be helpful for us to work on. So what we're going to do is just create a React app called Chart Samples, and then we'll CD into that. We're going to add our dependencies. Our dependencies are going to be Chart.js and React Chart.js 2. I'll have the documentation for that ready in the description. In this series, what we're going to be covering is we're going to be using external plugins. I'm going to take you guys all the way through Chart.js. It's going to be great. We're going to create our own custom plugins. I'll show you how to do that in a way that you can even publish it to the NPM package manager, how you can work on it locally. We're going to be doing some interesting stuff there. We'll be working with the canvas, so we'll be working with context, stuff like that, creating our own custom graphs, and I'll show you how to customize the crap out of Chart.js. Basically, we're going to be able to do custom tooltips, custom legends, custom hover effects, on-click listeners, stuff like that. Deleting, boom, 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 boom. Oops, don't save. Sorry, I was working on this before. You're not supposed to see that. Don't mind the man behind the curtain. All right, so let me actually increase this font size. Wow, that is goofy looking. All right, we're doing index.js. We are going to import React from React in here. And actually, while this is going, let's go ahead and add our dependencies. So we're going to get chart.js, and then we also want React Chart.js 2. So we'll go ahead and do that. And what else do we need? We need render, right, from React DOM. So we'll just go ahead and grab that, and then we'll just say we're going to create an app component. So we'll get from app. Can't type right now. And then we'll just say render app. We're not going to pass in any props, but document.get element by ID root. Yeah, so basically what this is, this series is going to be winding up to is, I don't know what KS is, but I want JS. So basically what this series is going to be winding up to is I wanted to create a series on how to create your own dashboard, but I thought it might be more fun to learn how to customize some charts. That way, when you create your own dashboard, you know what to do. And then if there's enough interest, after this series, we can go ahead and create our own dashboard together, back end, front end, the whole thing. It'll be great. So keep that in mind. If you're interested, let me know. If you like the way that I go about showing you how to use this library and how to really bend it to your will, then I can absolutely show you a thing or two about dashboarding. That'd be fun. I do dashboarding in my day-to-day, so I'm pretty comfortable there. We have export default class. All right, and then we'll just do a yarn start. So while that's booting up, notice that I pulled in our line object, our line component from React Chart.js 2, but I didn't bring in Chart.js. Chart.js is actually a peer dependency of React Chart.js 2, so we only need to make the one import. There it is, looks great. So first thing about Chart.js is your parent element. You're going to always want to style it with a position relative. Just off the bat, just do that. It's going to make your life so much easier. And then we'll say that the width is going to be 600. Get out of here, VS Code. And then the height is going to be 550, whatever. That's fine. And then we're going to have our first line component. So basically in this line, we're going to pass it some props. And what Chart.js expects is like an options prop, plugins prop, and then we'll have our data prop. and this is going to be an object as well. We're actually going to use this.state.data just because it's going to be a little bit easier. In our options, what we'll go ahead and do right off the bat is say that this is going to be a responsive chart. So let's build our data out. So we'll take our constructor and we'll construct our component. And then we'll say that this component is going to have some state, and what we're going to give it is a data object, and that data object is going to have an array of labels. And you actually do need these labels. Even if you end up not needing them for your chart, Chart.js might crash if you don't give it these labels, even as it's just an empty array. And it also needs an array of data sets, and that's going to be an array of objects, and each one of these is going to have a label. So we'll just say this one's going to be called like videos made, and we'll give this one a background color, and it's just going to be an RGBA value. We'll do a nice purple. And we'll give it some data. So we'll say 4, 5, 1. I don't know if this is on like a weekly basis or a monthly basis or something like that, but who cares? And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and create another one so we have a interesting looking chart. And we'll say this one is going to be subscriptions. And then we'll give this one a background color of just like a nice little green. We'll have a little Joker chart. This will be fun. And then data is going to be something complementary to this. So I don't know. We'll just add 10. This one will make like 21. This one will just make 0. This one will make 12. 2, and maybe we'll make that 4. This one will do 2. It doesn't really matter. All right, so now that we have our data, we can just pass it into our component, hit save. I'll come over to the browser so that we can see it. And we have a nice little thing here going on. Although our subscriptions should definitely be higher, so that's a point that we should make. So how about we just say that our subscriptions are just going to go up when we make cool videos? Oh man, that's fun. That's really fun. Cool. Okay. Yeah, so what we're going to do now is instead of just passing it this data prop, we're actually just going to pass it a callback function. So Chart.js is really extendable, and you could just pass this a callback function here. And we're just going to create a get chart data. And this callback function is going to accept a canvas object. So right off the bat, we're going to need some sort of data. So we're going to say this.state.data is going to be our data source. And then we're just going to return data right off the bat. Chart.js needs something returned to it, and it needs to be data. So if you're scaffolding out your state as the lifecycle hooks are running through, make sure your initial state is going to look like this, because that's what Chart.js is going to expect, especially if you're doing one of these callback functions. So give it something that it can handle, and you won't crash. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say if there's data sets, right? So if data.datasets, what we're going to say here is we're going to create a colors array, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to copy this, and then we'll do another one here, and something happened, and we'll just make this our green again, 0, 255, 0. Then we'll say data.datasets. So we'll loop through all of our data sets. We could use a map here too, doesn't matter. But basically in this function, we're just going to add some properties on our, you know, on our data set. So you notice up here that we set our background color. We didn't really need to do that. We could do that down here because we're just going to overwrite it anyway. But we're going to create our own custom function here called set gradient color. We're going to actually pass in our canvas, and then we're going to pass in colors of I, so whatever index we're at. And then there's all sorts of like little like Chart.js things that you could do. For instance, we just did this border color. It could have the same gradient that we have for our border color, or we just pass it white. We'll do white for right now. We'll do set border width. It's gonna be 2, and then you could do like hover background color. You know, there's all sorts of things that you can set on this data, and basically you're going to find that down here over here in your Chart.js documentation. So one thing that you might want to look at, for instance, would be like the charts. So this is the same API that the React library is going to use, and these are all your options, right? So we already took a look at responsive, but there's just so many more. Oh no, these are the dataset properties. My bad. The options are somewhere. But yeah, those dataset properties, they're pretty gnarly. There's a lot of them. For instance, if you wanted to set the line tension, make it more curvy, less curvy. For instance, this would have like maybe like a 0.1 Bezier curve for that line tension. So, you know, we'll look at that too. For right now, we're just going to set our gradient color. So we'll do set gradient color. And as we know, this is going to take a canvas and a color. And then basically what we're going to say is we need to get the context from our canvas. So we're going to do canvas dot get context, and we'll get the 2D context. And then in here, we're going to say const color. Oh, wait, no, gradient. We want the gradient, right? Yeah. So we're going to say context dot create linear gradient. So it might be good for you to look up the MDM documentation for the canvas stuff, and basically this is going to tell you everything. Definitely recommend MDM over like W3 or something like that, but basically we are just going to pass it some dimensions, some points where we're going to have our canvas draw out to. So I'm actually just going to use our height and width here. So height would obviously be y, width would be x. And then on that gradient object that we create, basically what we say is we say add color stop. So so these color stops are going to be that offset number. This offset number is going to be between 0 and 1. So for instance, 0.95, that would be like 95%. So just think of it that way. So what we're going to do actually is, we're going to say 0, and then we're going to use the color, and then we'll do gradient add color stop, and in the future I'll show you how to make this more dynamic, you know, generate a complementary color based on the color that you pass in. For right now, I guess what we'll do is we'll just pass it a string value. We'll just do a nice little gray, I guess, 0.5 point, not comma. And then we will just return our gradient. And that gradient is going to be set to this background color. That should do it, so I'll just go ahead and hit save on that, and we'll take a look at our handiwork. And dataset stuff for each is not a function. Not a function. Is it case sensitive? Yeah, it is. Huh. But yeah, basically, this is where we're at right now. So, we can see here Chart.js gives us some pretty cool stuff. We have our gradients going. It might not look like it right now, but maybe if instead of doing that, we made this like 255, maybe that would look better. Let's make that darker. All right, so I guess that works, right? Let's say this is going to be like 200, and the height is going to be like 150. Maybe that does it a little better. All right, well, you see where we're going with this. Here's the gradient. It starts way back here. So let's see if that works. Interesting, definitely interesting. And then let's make that like 400. All right, that looks a little better. So you might have to play with that a little bit. We're doing this pretty informally, so that's kind of why I'm doing it by hand here. But we'll definitely make this look a little bit nicer in the future. I can even make this chart a little bit larger so that we can see it here. We'll say 800 and 750. And yeah, that's how it's going to look. So keep in mind that those offsets are really going to be dependent on the size of your chart. So you're going to want to make sure that you have something that is going to be dynamic. Right now we're just hard coding it, but in the future we're really going to do this thing right. So in the next video we are going to be working with external plugins. We're going to be adding that to our chart, and we're going to see how we can use that to manipulate the experience of using the chart. So right now, it's just dummy data. We'll be working with real data in the future, but this was just a brief introduction, so thanks for sticking with me. I'm trying to keep these videos short, so leave me a note in the comments if you have any suggestions, something that you want to see. We'll definitely make it happen, and thanks for following along. Appreciate it.